you mentioned something that I want to pull out a little bit. And this is idea of sacred space. So in addition to all like the practical things of homesteading that you've shared about the foraging, the sassafras, the lost sassafras, and you mentioned something about spiritual fulfillment and like a place where people could come and actually get what it is that spiritually sort of emanates from being in a place and loving it and caring for it and being cared for in return. I'm butchering all of this.
Well, initially it was that spirit moved us, because I don't think not having that would have motivated us to try to take on this project. But it was so innately in us to do this that we knew it was something bigger than us. We found a spot in the woods, and I was telling you, it was like literally the sun came out and was like, this is where you need to put your greenhouse. It is so, I don't even know what to call it, because it's a battery. It's a battery for your spirit. It's a battery physically, being able to ground. I don't know if you've ever just taken your shoes off and walking, barefoot, that connection with, this is amazing. This is so much bigger than us. This is so much bigger than, all of the things that we think are important. And we've also found it to be very therapeutic. If you take your shoes off when you're upset and you go out into the middle of the woods, you will find a sense of calm and peace that you've never felt before. I've literally had those breakdown, ugly cries, snot out your nose, all of that, and then feel such an immense sense of calm in those woods. I could not express it to you. Listening to nature's music is unbelievable. You start hearing things that you never listened to before. I learned that the knocking sound in our woods was not just knocking. Like, we have a family of woodpeckers. I didn't know that that's what woodpeckers sounded like, but then it started becoming like a drum beat. So if we don't hear the woodpeckers, now we're looking like to make sure everything is okay, because we know we have a family of woodpeckers. It is such, I don't know. Some days I feel like Snow White singing, calling the animals to her and that type of thing, because we are very fortunate that where we are, there's such a diverse amount of wildlife around us. So we have the deer, we have fox, we have snakes and all those things. And then we made the decision that we were not going to impose our will on our land, that we were just here to steward it. So we don't use electrical fencing and that type of thing. We don't use chemicals. We plant in what we call threes. So we plant for us, we plant for the insects, and we plant for the animals. So hopefully out of those threes, we'll get one plant out of the situation. But we didn't want to disrupt the system because we were in it, because they were here before we were. So we're just trying to, fit into their life and make the best life that we can. So we get that question all the time, like, well, how do you fight against the deer? And I was like, we don't, like, we share. I put up plenty of videos where they've come in and had parties without us. This spring, they came in, they had a corn party. So they went to our corn bed and they ate everything they saw in sight. But for us, it was not a loss. We just picked them up, and what was left, the ears went to the chickens, the stalks went to the goats. So we had feed that this spring. A few days ago, they decided to get into the peppers. I didn't even know goats liked hot peppers, and we're talking about habaneros and ghost chilies. And they went to town, and I was like, oh, I hope it burns coming out. But what can you do? But thankfully, we had transplanted our overwinter peppers already in. So, they enjoyed that. So we just try to have the least amount of impact in, you know, and us stewarding the land. So